Acknowledge the Honourable Member for St. Peter.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I listened to many of the members in this Honourable House today and this evening, and unlike my friend from the constituency of, All Saints East and St. Luke, the Honourable Chester Hughes, Madam Speaker, I do not plan to play any politics with this most important piece of the people's work that we are here to do this evening, Madam Speaker. Because for indeed, Madam Speaker, our very essence of democracy in this country and what we have been accustomed to over generations and many years, Madam Speaker, is being eradicated and withered away, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as I've said, I don't plan to play politics, but I want to prove my case tonight, that what we're doing here, I will venture to even say that it's on the verge of illegality in terms of the proclamation that is before us, that was issued on September the 10th and gazetted. It was issued on September the 9th and gazetted on the 10th, Madam Speaker. Because you see, Madam Speaker, this is a seminal moment in the history of this country. And we cannot afford, with such an important piece of legislation, to play petty politics and try to score cheap political mileage and to attack members on this side of the House because we are constructively, earnestly, and honestly concerned with what is going on in this country right now as far as it relates to re-registration and the upcoming general elections that are due in Antigua and Barbuda, March 2014 or before. Because you see, Madam Speaker, this Honourable House has been convened today, for the most part, almost exclusively, other than the bill that we passed, the personal income tax bill, to deal with adopting this resolution. And we must make sure that the adoption of this resolution, Madam Speaker, that we are seeking to do, in fact, what it's doing, it's amending the second schedule of the Representation of the People Act. The people out there must know what we are doing, pertaining to voter re-registration regulations that will affect every single eligible voter across the length and breadth of Antigua and Barbuda. Madam Speaker, today is Tuesday, September the 24th, 2013. The so-called re-registration of voters for the March 2014 general elections, Madam Speaker, was scheduled to begin yesterday, September the 23rd, 2013. These amendments that we are seeking to do here tonight and today, Madam Speaker, to the registration regulations must first be adopted by Parliament in order for the so-called re-registration exercise to commence. But Madam Speaker, since July the 22nd, 2010, July the 22nd, I want the people out there to understand this, 2010, or more than 3 years, the Electoral Commission, the Antigua and Barbuda Electoral Commission, Madam Speaker, they have been seized of these facts. And why? My question tonight is why at this 11th hour that you're coming to this Parliament, hauling us here and seeking to pass these regulations at the 11th hour? Clearly, in my view, Madam Speaker, somebody either does not understand their job, their functions, or maybe they understand it and they're not doing their job, Madam Speaker. It cannot be okay, Madam Speaker, for the Antigua and Barbuda Electoral Commission to proceed to haul this Parliament back into sitting when this House has been convened for no fewer than at least 10 to 12 times, Madam Speaker, since the law was amended. More than 36 months now have elapsed since these amendments came into effect. More than 36 months. And up until this moment, Madam Speaker, up until now, the ABEC never moved to indicate that there had to be steps that had to be taken first before we came back to this Parliament. I humbly suggest to you, Madam Speaker, without casting any wrongful intent, any malicious aspersions on any body character or personality, that is unacceptable. It is shameful, and it is a shameful display of someone's inefficiency at work at that Antigua and Barbuda Electoral Commission. Madam Speaker, I have in hand, and I crave your indulgence, the proclamation that was issued by the Governor General on Monday, the 9th day of September 2013, or 2 weeks ago. It proclaims, and I read with your permission, Madam Speaker. It says, it proclaims Monday, September the 23rd to Friday, October the 25th as the period within the so-called re-registration exercise is to take place. The proclamation was issued by Her Excellency upon the advice of the Electoral Commission as required by law. Yet, Madam Speaker, and the Attorney General ought to know this, Madam Speaker. I'm no law student, I'm no legal luminary. This proclamation that we have, that was issued and gazetted by extraordinary authority on Tuesday, 10th of September 2013, Madam Speaker, it fails to include the required reference to the specific date on which the registrar, and my legal luminary member for St. John City South made mention of it, and he's 100% correct. The registered must make reference to the specific date, Madam Speaker, on which the register of electors is to be published. I mean, come on, it's not here. And this fact was known to the Electoral Commission since 2012, Madam Speaker, because it is included in the same section of the same law that speaks to proclamation since 2012. Again, Madam Speaker, again, someone at the Electoral Commission is not doing their job. And I have in my hand here, Madam Speaker, before I read from it, Madam Speaker, the failure to specify a date for the publication of the register of electors makes the proclamation materially flawed, illegal, null, and void. And it has to be redone. And the Attorney General knows that. Several lawyers have examined the law and the documents, and they've seen it, and I have in my hand here. And again, with your permission, and I quote from the Representation of the People Amendment Act 2010, I'll give you a copy after, number 6 of 2010. Well, it's in the Parliament, we passed it here. Number 6, Madam Speaker, of 2010, published in the Official Gazette, Volume 30, number 41, dated the 22nd of July 2010. And if we look to the new section 6, on page 6, amendment of section 18, requirement to register. And the new section 18, subsection 1A, Madam Speaker, it requires the proclamation of the register's date. And I'll read the exact wording. It says, section 1, on the coming into force of this section, the Governor General shall by proclamation specify a period within which a person who is qualified under section 16 may apply in accordance with the registration regulations to be registered as an elector in the constituency in which he qualifies to be so registered. That was always so, even in the previous legislation. What was amended, Madam Speaker, is section A, B, and C. And here, Madam Speaker, section A, 18(1)A says, in respect of the period immediately subsequent to the commencement of this section, the Commission shall publish the register not later than such date as the Governor General, after consultation with the Commission, shall by proclamation specify. And then B goes on to say, after the date specified by the Governor General by proclamation under paragraph A at intervals of not more than 6 months, but not later than the 30th of June and the 31st of December in each year. There you have it, Madam Speaker. Clear. Clear as daylight. How can we just make such a fundamental flaw and come here We have this Representation of People Act number 6 of 2010 that this government passed in 2010. We know that it must and requires us to definitely not just give the date and the start of registration, but you have to also put in the proclamation the date for the register of electors to be published. I mean, my goodness, how could we just miss that? Excuse me. And Madam Speaker, nearly 2 years ago this Parliament was asked by the amendments to create the position of the Chief Registration Officer, which we did. I think it was law number 10. No, sorry. It was law number 12. Law number 12 of 2012, Madam Speaker. It was passed with sweeping changes. Made the 2001 Representation of the People Act. The duties of the Chief Registration Officer was outlined in that act. And it included the preparation and maintenance of the register of electors. And I quote, the preparation and the maintenance of the register of electors. And that is her duty, that we came to this Parliament and we passed in law number 12 of 2012. It continued that the Chief Registration Officer, among her duties, was to properly prepare the register of electors. There were to be preliminary lists published on April the 30th, Madam Speaker, as mandated by the law, Madam Speaker. There were no preliminary lists on April the 30th. There was no list or register created in June the 30th. None. As required by the law. I go one step further, Madam Speaker, and this is not politics like my good friend, honorable member, is trying to play. This is reality. That's the law. And this is the law. And when the honorable leader of the opposition, the honorable Gaston Brown, member for St. John City West, realized and his legal luminaries advised him, Madam Speaker, what he did, he wrote to the chairman of the Antigua and Barbuda Electoral Commission about the absence of the registers. And what he got? He got a rather nasty reply was forthcoming to him. Well, he has them there. You have them there? Honorable Leader, you will deal with that. Madam Speaker, I go further. It's not just the date for the register that has been eliminated out of the proclamation. Additionally, there was no order bringing number 12 of 2011 into effect. No order. Yes. And that has to be done. The procedure requires an order of the minister to bring the law into effect. Yet there's a proclamation and a resolution before us. There's a resolution here. There's a proclamation from the Governor General, Madam Speaker, but there's no order preceding these two instruments. The whole thing is wrong, completely wrong. There must be an order. There must be the date. The minister must issue an order.
We can't start to register Monday then.
You cannot. And I've had 3 Queen Councils look at this. This is not Asot Michael trying to grandstand here. 3, where you mentioned it.
Yes.
And you said it in your presentation, honorable member for St. John City South. It's not me trying to grandstand. There must be an order. There must be a date in the proclamation. Someone at the Electoral Commission is not doing their job. I mean, you know, Madam Speaker, that the Chief Registration Officer was tasked with many functions and duties that bear exclusivity to her and to that position about the registration of voters. And those duties, Madam Speaker, as we are all aware, came after, because we have court cases that Sir Gerald took, we have court cases that started today, that's challenging that very amendment that we did to the legislation, where we stripped away and emasculated the duties of the supervisor of elections, which was enshrined in the Constitution. And those responsibilities, Madam Speaker, those very responsibilities that was enshrined and bestowed upon the supervisor of elections were then what? Handed over to the Chief Registration Officer. So the supervisory elections were totally stripped and totally marginalized. And in fact, Madam Speaker, truth be told, all those staff up there at ABIC, all of those staff was institutional memory who can help to make the process flow seamlessly and really productivity and get everything going properly. What has happened, Madam Speaker? They've been shoved aside or marginalized. And then the Chief Registration Officer herself is failing in her duty. And never before in 12 years history of ABIC have we seen such a dereliction of duty. Clearly the Electoral Commission is not ensuring the completion of the work assigned by this Parliament. And then they're bringing us back to this Parliament and letting us come here to make fools of ourselves.
Dear Lord, give us back land assignment.
We had a flawless election in 2009?
What?
Oh my God, I can't believe my ears that we had a flawless election in 2009.
When you lost in 2009?
Honorable member, come on, you know that's sarcasm. Please.
Here's the legislation. Madam Speaker, I have also noted with some concern, Madam Speaker, that in the regulations or registration amendment regulations that we're proposing, great concern that nowhere in the rules or regulations, Madam Speaker, does the registration officer in every single constituency, there's no legal obligation on that registration officer to give the scrutineers of both political parties a copy of the persons that are registered daily. Now, I don't know if it was in the previous law or if it was taken out. I would be a liar to say that I know. But I know the practice has been that every single day my scrutineer would be handed by the registration officer a set of persons, I think it's pink or green slips, pink slips of those persons that have been registered. But if you look at section 5 on page 5, amendment of regulation 13, it says, regulation 13 of the principal regulations revoked and substituted by the following. And then you have 1, 2, 3. 3 says, the registration office shall retain the original certificate and shall deliver the duplicate of the certificate to the applicant. That's good. But what about the scrutineers? We need to enshrine that, Mr. AG, that the scrutineer, we can't? Well, they have to do it. But how would we want to ensure that it's done? No, but if it's not our job in the Parliament, how, my question is, how do we ensure that they're going to put it into practice?
We can only advise them.
Well, then we can bring back the law here and let's amend it. Anyway, the ultimate blame for the non-performance, Mr. AG, is not us here in Parliament. It has to lie, somebody up there has to take responsibility. Not you, maybe not us. Well, the chairman of the commission is a chairman, and he has to ensure that the task that has been clearly mandated by Parliament under the law, that he has to make sure that those tasks assigned to the officers like the Chief Registration Officer, the Chief Data Officer, all the other chief officers up there that they took away the functions from the supervisory election, that they have to make sure that those duties are carried out. I mean, the commission will have a lawyer. Of course the commission will have a lawyer. But in all likelihood, the way things are run up there is that the lawyer will render her advice, or his advice. The chairman not bothering with her, he's not going to take that advice. He will say, for me decision. That has become the new modus operandi in Antigua and Barbuda from recent events, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I am humbly submitting to you and to this Parliament tonight that the 2014 general elections, it cannot, it should not, and it will not be anything like the debacle of 2009 general elections. Cannot. The Antigua and Barbuda people do not wish that, what we went through in 2009, where you had persons that lined up in polling stations from 5 o'clock in the morning, even before they open at 6. And were not able to vote until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And no paper was there, no ink was there. I mean, it was a debacle. We can't repeat that. We don't want to be the laughing stock again of the Commonwealth of Nations again, Madam Speaker. We cannot wish to be the laughing stock of CARICOM, the Organization of American States, and all these other international institutions. The foreign media will be here. I mean, Madam Speaker, let us be real. I'm not attacking nobody. But if the chairman can't do his job, well, then let him tender his resignation. Let somebody else more competent and more partial and has the interests of fair play and the whole country at heart. And who knows the law, or who would understand legal advice and take it. The Parliament of Antigua and Barbuda, Madam Speaker, we ought not to be convened for the purpose of having parliamentarians today tell the chairman of the Electoral Commission that he has to perform several tasks which the law commands him to do. He ought to read the law, and if he can't read the law, get somebody to advise him. I mean, Madam Speaker, if he were not so busy harassing the other staff up there, he would be focusing on the law and the procedures and know what the proclamation says, and know that there must be an order, and know that the proclamation must have a date. Madam Speaker, I want to say to this Parliament tonight, I'm not imputing no improper motives. I want to give you a fact that you don't know. I want to give, Madam Speaker, I want to say a fact, and this is an irrefutable fact. This afternoon, you talk about harassment, and I'm imputing improper motives. This afternoon, Madam Speaker, a letter was handed to Miss Manwaran. Miss Manwaran,
Again?
the most experienced registration officer up there at the Antigua and Barbuda Electoral Commission, transferring her out of ABIC headquarters. How I know that? Well, he refuted tomorrow morning, and you give the evidence that is not so. I am saying it so. However, Madam Speaker, a court order exists which forbids her removal from that office. And they still defy the court order. They still defy the court order. What is going on in this country? What is going on? Is it the wild west? That we defy laws and court orders with impunity and get away with it? That court order was also agreed by consent by the then head of the Electoral Commission, by both parties. That kind of harassment was to end with the court order. At this last moment, on the eve of the start of the re-registration, or call it the de-re-registration, on Monday. This is what we are seeing happen on the eve. And you tell me that this is right, that we are supposed to start registration next Monday? No, Madam Speaker. No. That cannot be right. It is unacceptable. This draft resolution that we are proposing and the accompanying proclamation cannot go forward. We must repeal it. The Governor General's proclamation has to be amended. It is not lawful to proclaim the dates, then start 1 week later neither. It has in here the dates, Madam Speaker. It says, this is a proclamation by the Gazette, and it says the date starting from the 23rd day of September to the 25th day of October 2013. And now, willy-nilly, the chairman of the Electoral Commission can say, okay, we are going to reduce it by 1 week, and we are going to just start on the 30th and reduce registration period by 1 week. What is this? Excuse me. I go on now, Madam Speaker, to the new machines. The new machines, Madam Speaker, and this is a very serious matter, very serious, can only register 1 elector every 6 minutes. Or 10 electors every hour, and that's a fact, Madam Speaker. You have to take the, I'm not asking you, go and speak to the staff up there. Go and speak to the boys who have been trained. Just to take that picture, Madam Speaker, to take all the information, to look through the passport, fill in the form. What is it going to take, 1 minute? It's craziness. So that's 10 electors every hour, Madam Speaker. So in a 12-hour day, the maximum to be registered is 120 electors. If you have one machine. If you have one machine. registration in 23 working days. We only have 23 working days, Madam Speaker. Not 30 no more. They've cut it down by 1 week.
They can't.
But they have. I'm assuming Saturdays, Mr. Member. I'm assuming Saturdays, but they've said no. I'm assuming Saturdays will be included. And if you do the arithmetic, that would result in 2,760 electors getting registered in St. Peter. In the latest register of St. Peter, you have more than 3,500 registered voters. So how is it possible on God's earth to register that many electors in 23 working days? How are we going to achieve that? The proclamation of the Governor General has to be withdrawn and a new proclamation issued, Madam Speaker. I mean, the Prime Minister can decide on the first list after the claims and objections, after the 45-day period to call elections. He could say he's calling elections by December the 31st, and then only those persons who got on the list in those 23 days, I want the people of this country to know that, would be entitled to vote. How are we going to register nearly 60,000 people? It's not 53,000 people you told me registered the last time, comrade?
Yes.
How are they going to accomplish the register if the Prime Minister, he has the prerogative to dissolve Parliament and call elections at any time? So how on God's earth are we going to register? And Mr. Leader, you should write to the Commonwealth Observer, you should write to the OAS, you should write to every Prime Minister in CARICOM to tell them what's going on in this country. You can't tell everybody, go and get registered in 23 days. You could have somebody overseas, somebody at school, somebody at university, somebody sick. No registration on Saturdays, no registration on Sundays. They must register between 7 o'clock in the morning and 7 o'clock in the night from Monday to Friday. Madam Speaker, there is also a plan, I must be honest, that the Electoral Office have said, to put more than one registration unit or machine in the big constituencies, so that you will have, not unlike St. Peter, it may be in the Prime Minister's constituency, or I hope they may not put it in yours, although your constituency is as big as his. But they have said that they'll put more than one machine in the larger constituencies, Madam Speaker. But even if that is so, Madam Speaker, the number of scrutineers in those multiple machine units must also be increased. Because if they put 2 or 3 machines in your constituency, St. Mary's North, through you, Madam Speaker, and you have nearly 5,000 people on your register, and you only have 1 scrutineer per shift, how will those scrutineers and they're registering people with 2 machines? What you going to do? Run from one machine, run back to the next machine? Are you telling me it's going to take less than 6 minutes? You all are crazy in this country. Crazy. Madam Speaker, yet the resolution that we're proposing tonight makes 2 scrutineers the absolute maximum for each political party's appointments. And I'm saying that is not enough. What happens in the lunch hour? I call Ms. Generous Robinson when she said you have to send an additional scrutineer to be registered. I asked her what were the hours. She said from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. and then from 3 p.m. to 7. Some evenings they may go later than 7 if they require. So what happens when this first scrutineer wants to take a lunch hour? What's going to happen? So there'll be no scrutineer there? You must, as she admitted, she said, that we have thought about that. You can appoint a 3rd scrutineer, send them for training, but the political parties have to pay for that 3rd scrutineer. That's what your answer was to me. That the political parties would have to pay for that 3rd scrutineer to accommodate our 2 scrutineers so that one can go for a lunch hour. I mean, what nonsense is that? Huh? They're paying them $1,500 for the month. Not even $400 a week. No, it's $1,500 a month.
This whole thing look mash up. What do you say?
Madam Speaker, the inefficiencies cannot be built into the law. That cannot work. When you have 2 units present, even in a single geographic location like a big constituency like yours, I just showed how it's going to be impractical. You're going to have to assign at least 4 scrutineers to your constituency, to St. George's, to Rural West, to any constituency that's over 3,000, because I gave you the example of what will happen in St. Peter's. You cannot get your 3,500 voters, and even if you assume everybody want to go and register, it cannot humanly. We are died in labor. The unity of labor is the salvation of our country, and that's what you're all afraid of over there. And Chester Hughes with all his machinations can't win the seat over here.
That's the spirit.
And you don't worry about that, because you don't lose yours. Sorry, Madam Speaker. You know, by the time the leader come over to Barbuda, you gone. What's up? You're breaking my concentration, but Madam Speaker, I want to put to you. Also, Madam Speaker, are you aware, Madam Speaker, that the start of the case today in the High Court, there's a case today in the High Court which challenges, the Attorney General knows, it challenges the unlawful and the unconstitutional attempt to strip the supervisor of elections of our authority and duties. But maybe the timing of what we're doing here this evening coincides. I'm not cynical or suspicious, but maybe just so it coincides with the timing of the sitting in order, Madam Speaker, to attempt to make null and void an anticipated order of the court or declaration of the court. Because that is not a new strategy by the government, Madam Speaker. They have come here before Parliament while court cases have been going on in appeals and passed law to attempt to try, Madam Speaker, to void declarations of the court. And what we are seeing again this evening and again is the propensity in this country to unlawfulness. The plan to hold registration in a super center, which they were thinking of, and had it not been for the wise advice of both sides, the Honorable Political Leader, Member for St. John City West, and the Member for All Saints East and St. Luke, who got up and really put forward their argument to the chairman, who did not even care what they were saying at the time. Absolute disdain and contempt he treated a member of the UPP, political leader, and even the chairman of the UPP. He was halfway, his argument was not fully on board, but he said he's independent. Correct. But Madam Speaker, that was crazy too! To try and pack 60,000 voters down at one super center, where the air conditions don't even work, where down there will be hot. You'd have lines from the multipurpose all the way up to VC Bird bus. No water down there, or maybe up to the airport or Parliament. Madam Speaker, I beg of you, my colleagues on the other side, not because you're in government, I'm begging of you to amend this resolution, amend the proclamation, send it back, and let us start again. Because you don't get sent it back, you're going to have a lovely court case on Monday morning. Guthrie and Astafan are already here, and they love the denial. You know them lawyers already. They will stay for the next 2 weeks. Sorry, Honourable Member. Madam Speaker, but in all seriousness, in concluding, this cannot stand. This Parliament cannot be made to look foolish and to be embarrassed once again by someone, and that's the point I want to bring across, in whom the people and the citizens of this country ought to have faith in, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the chairman of the Electoral Commission is supposed to inspire confidence. But Madam Speaker, you know what the chairman on Observer Radio, June the 23rd, I crave your indulgence, Madam Speaker, June the 23rd, 2011, both on radio and it was printed, in an interview with Colin Sampson, Mr. Juno Samuel says, and I quote, he says, well, the headline in the paper is "New Law Disenfranchises Commonwealth Citizens," he quote, but as I understand it, once the new legislation comes into effect, it has the old legislation was enacted, is no more the law, so it would seem to me that, okay, I'm quoting exactly what he said, this is the new legislation, and this is the new requirement, you have to be here for 7 years. The list that we had before, that list is null and void. And if the list is null and void, then that list does not exist basically. So now we start again. So, you now come in, what's your name, how long you've been here, and you present your documents to show me how long you've been here. He continues, and I quote, as you know, Commonwealth, if you're Commonwealth and you're here less than 7 years, you're not eligible. Even if you're registered under the previous law, you now become deregistered. Well, that is my understanding of it. End of quote. I would like you to give that to the Madam Speaker, Madam Clerk. That's a transcript of what Mr. Juno Samuel said. So in other words, Madam Speaker, he has told the whole of Antigua and Barbuda that even if you are Commonwealth, I will provide the Parliament with the audio tomorrow morning. With the audio also. From Observer Radio. Don't try and off-track me, you and Carabinera. You're all in bed together. Terrible guy. I'm disappointed in you. Thought you were my friend. Madam Speaker. So what the chairman is telling us, he doesn't care whether you are here for 13 years and whether you have a voter's ID card and you voted last election. The law no longer exists. The requirement is now 3 years. You're off the list. And that is the whole modus operandi, the intent, as you lawyers will say, the mens rea behind what we're doing with this re-registration. And they're trying to say, oh, the list is padded. How on God's earth could we in opposition in 2009 pad the list? You control the Electoral Commission. You control the machinery. And we are in opposition, the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party, and we pad the list. And you all still win the election?
Chaco said it.
How? And now, Madam Speaker, the intent, the mens rea behind of this whole re-registration is to frustrate those 10,000 Commonwealth nationals out there. Why? Because they feel that the Guyanese and the Jamaicans and the Santo Domingans and the Dominicans and the Montserratians, that they're not going to vote for them, Madam Speaker. And that cannot be right, Madam Speaker. That cannot be right. And you can't put a whole country through the agony, the frustration to get re-registered in 23 days. How much millions of dollars is going to cost in manpower and machinery? I don't know the figures, but I'm sure it's going to be at least $6 to $10 to $12 million for this re-registration. And to do what? Because you're fearful of losing the election. And paranoid. But I want to say to them, Madam Speaker, and I want to tell the people out there, they will not succeed. I have confidence in our lawyers because they've lost every single case for 9 years. But they will not succeed because the Prime Minister doesn't listen to the Attorney General. He listens to a so-called lawyer called Datadin. Had he listened to the Attorney General, he would have won more cases, Madam Speaker. But, Madam Speaker, terrific. Madam
Come on, honorable members, just keep this on track.
Madam Speaker, because I want to wind up. They will not succeed with the deregistration of the Commonwealth citizens. And as soon as they try that next week, we're going to carry them to court. The leader have already said. But Madam Speaker, I want to submit to this Honourable House that even if they were to succeed with the deregistration and take off 8,000, 9,000, 10,000 Commonwealth citizens, the indigenous born and bred Antiguans and Barbudans, they will lose them and have lost them. And they're not going to vote for them. We saw what happened in Barbuda. That was history. 32 years the Antigua Labour Party didn't win the council. And look what happened, Madam Speaker. Look at how much money history was created. They go, Madam Speaker, and they go, what you want to tell me, the mock elections or the simulated elections that was done by the free and fair, 16-0, Madam Speaker. Even if they had a margin of error of 25-30%, not even one seat. And you know Rick James loved the Labour Party. So Rick James is not going to say he challenged Lester Bird, he won against Lester. He's not going to do anything to try it. What you want to tell me? Not even one seat? Madam Speaker, and what it shows is the propensity. We didn't do any mobilization. We didn't call one constituent and ask them to go to Epicurean or to Bargain Centre to vote. And people went. 1,100 and something. 1,100 and something, Madam Speaker. And they could not win. So the point I'm making, God is on our side. And when you know you're doing something just, Madam Speaker, God is on our side, but they're paranoid over there. And I'm so disappointed in the honourable member for St. John's Wool West. Madam Speaker, it's only because the love and the bond and the friendship and the caring and the passion that I have for the people for St. Peter's, where I would never neglect them. Never go to another constituency. Or else. Madam Speaker. But I want to tell you, I would love a fight with the honourable member for St. John's Wool West. If I wasn't in St. Peter and I was in another constituency, I would have gone down there. I'd take him on because he had done absolutely nothing. You know how many young people we went to the branch meeting, the leader, myself. And you know how much young people that tell us how we passed them with his glass wine and we just do so. And boom! And he gone. The Baldwin Spencer, the grassroots trade unionists that we knew in this country, who have turned bourgeois now, that he don't even have time for his people, Madam Speaker.
Honourable member,
Excuse me.
this is not a campaign trail.
Madam Speaker, I will close.
Thank you.
I want to say though, the chairman of the Electoral Commission is supposed to be highly regarded and respected, and his integrity supposed to be unquestionable. And our very presence here, this Tuesday the 24th of September at 8:07, more than 24 hours after the registration is supposed to have commenced, is testament of his incapacity. And I cannot, Madam Speaker, will not, for the benefit of the people of this country out there, and in good conscience, could vote in favor of this resolution. No way, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.